That's what we're looking for right there. Nice and easy over. There we go. Howdy folks, my name is Van Hargis. I appreciate you joining us today as we cover some issues on horse training, starting from the weanling colt all the way up to a 2-year-old colt that had not been ridden. During the course of the day, we're going to cover some things such as problem solving and trailer loading. We find that those issues are problems that we all have issues with, and we're hoping that these horses and these demonstrations today will help you overcome some of those problems. A little bit about myself. I started out as a horse trainer, I guess you could say, by family trait, because my dad was a horse trainer, and then later on I became a horse trainer. I started out with my first horse as a ripe old age of 12 years old. It was for the world-renowned saddle maker, Billy Cook. Actually, it's for his wife. She had a nice colt that she thought was a little bit too small for the average-sized trainer to ride, so at the age of 12 I was fairly small but fairly experienced. So she felt confident in bringing her horse to me to train, and as a result, that kind of started me off into horse training. The first horse I ever rode for money, and it was tons of fun, had a great summer, and got paid for it too. So join me today, if you will, as I share with you some of the experiences that I've had and some of the successes that we've had in getting these horses going from all the way to the weanling on to the horse that's a little bit more finished, and we hope that some of the things we show you today will help you in your endeavors and become a good horseman. Most importantly, I'd like for you just to follow us as we allow the horse to be our teacher on this trail to success. In our travels throughout the country, one of the most commonly asked questions that we do, especially when we're training with our 2-year-olds and our older horses, is when is it too early to start a colt? That's why I picked this little filly here, little paint thoroughbred filly. She was just taken off her mother just a couple of days ago, actually about a week ago. And what we're going to be doing with her is showing you some of the things that we do on an extremely young colt. She's recently been weaned, so she's really ready for a whole lifetime of education. We're hoping we can start that education with her today. And we hope that later you'll see the continuity and what we do here throughout what we're going to do in our entire training program throughout the colt's life. Now, whenever the colt tries to avoid me or for some reason gets secure enough in that, feels as if the colt feels secure enough to move away from me, that's okay. I don't want the horse to think that, okay, that's a bad mistake. It's just a decision that the horse made. However, in this particular case, I need the horse to know that I want the horse close to me. I want this little filly thinking that she needs to be beside me. That's what she's trying to learn. That's what I've set my goal on, is for her to be close to me. Now you can see what she's really wanting to do is she's wanting to come to me. She's understanding now that, man, being close to this guy means time alone, rest and relaxation, hands on me. Boy, this is a lot easier than being out there working hard. If she moves away as if she's just done, then I can simply reprimand her by just putting her to work. In other words, the work becomes the hard thing, and me standing, or the filly standing beside me, becomes the easy thing. Now you can see what she's really wanting to do is she's wanting to come to me. She's understanding now that, man, being close to this guy means time alone, rest and relaxation, hands on me. Boy, this is a lot easier than being out there working hard. Once we've actually made our mind that we want to connect ourselves to the horse, such as via a lead rope, then what we really want to do is that's just a continuity in our training. For example, a little while ago, the horse was actually following me without a lead rope. So basically she was being trained to lead without the lead rope. Now all we've done, we put just the physical object between me and the colt. But the goal there is for the filly to never feel any restriction from the lead rope. So if she does feel as if she needs to be helped, we can just give a little light tug, kind of little finger pulls, if you will, on the lead rope. And as a result, the colt will learn to give in to little subtle pressures off her face and off the halter. Now, once we've established a relationship between the colt and me in this case, then obviously we want to progress. And my next level of progression is start introducing other things to her. Some things that's going to be introduced to her later on in her life, such as having a halter put on her, such as bridling, such as things being around her ears. We might want to have to introduce her one day to clippers around her ears. So passing lead rope over the horse's head basically gets them used to these actions that are going to be taking place throughout this horse's life. We pass this lead rope over the horse's ears. We try not to make it offensive to the horse. We just pass it over as quickly and as easily as we can. And then we introduce the horse to something else, such as I use my ropes basically as just a means to, if you will, sack a horse out. Let them feel this rope in different places over their body. And again, this is just leading up to some other things that's going to be happening in this horse's life later on in life. And if the horse makes a mistake, like for example, if the horse gets a little excited and wants to move away a little bit abruptly, as long as I stay calm and I stay quiet and I invite the horse to come back to me, because what she's learned previously is that I'm the safest and I'm the neatest place to be. And as long as she understands that, she'll be happy to come back to me to gain her security and her comfort again. If she gets excited, that's okay. That just tells us that, well, she doesn't really understand that. She's not really comfortable with it. So repetition takes precedence. We just keep doing more and more repetition until the filly becomes more and more comfortable about whatever it is that we're asking her to do. All the while, she's learning to trust us. She's learning to trust that we're going to get her into situations. And between the two of us, we'll team up and we'll get ourselves out of these things. And as she gets to the point where she gets it a little bit more closer to perfect and closer to perfect, each time we realize that she's making progress. She's gaining confidence in herself, she's gaining confidence in us, and she's gaining confidence in the things, the situations that we're putting her in. Okay. Now what we've got a 2-year-old stud colt, a 2-year-old obviously a paint colt. This horse has never been under saddle. He's been handled quite a bit since he's been a youngster. But at the same time, you're going to see that he's going to need certain things as far as ground manners. We're going to try to overcome some of the ground manner behavioral problems. But really what we're going to do is we're going to set our focus on the goal of getting this horse saddled for the first time and hopefully even getting me on his back for the first time today. What I'd like to do is show you how we're going to do that. But let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to set a goal here. Obviously, I think it's very important that I try to keep in mind and stay focused on what my goal is. And again, I'm going to try to be very, very specific. I'm going to set the goal of getting on the horse for the first time. I'm going to set the goal of getting on the horse for the very first time in a way that's nice and quiet and easy for the horse to understand, and obviously very safe for me. That's a very specific goal. Now, all my life I've been told that, Van, if you want to be successful in life, what you've got to do is you've got to set goals for yourself. I think that's a great thing for us to set goals, but more importantly, what we've got to do is we've got to develop a plan on how to accomplish those goals. And that's what I want to kind of show you here with this horse. I've told you what my goal is. Now we're going to put a plan into action. Well, how do we know what our plan's going to be? I'm not out here to reinvent the wheel today. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to implement a plan that we know works. How do I know it works? I've literally trained thousands of horses in my past using the techniques you're going to see here today. I'm going to try my very best to illustrate those things and to communicate those things to you as we work with this 2-year-old stud colt. I'm also going to use some things that I myself have not come up with, but I've had the luxury of visiting with other trainers, watching other trainers over the years. But most importantly, I want to emphasize that my best teacher is and always has been and probably always will be this horse. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get on this horse's back for the first time in a way that we can understand, the horse can understand, and it's safe for both of us. Now, working with a 2-year-old is the same, I think, as working with our weanlings or our yearlings. It's just a continuity in training, if you will. What they need to understand, if they've not had this training in their past, is what they need to understand is that we are the safest place to be. If I ask for movement, then I need movement. If I ask for the horse to stand still, I'm asking for the horse to stand still. What we need to realize as trainers is that we need to keep in mind the 2 very important aspects, consistency and persistence. In other words, if I'm asking for movement from my horse, then I have to keep asking until I get what I want. That's persistence. The consistency comes in to where I have to ask the same way every time. What I really like to start my horses on, when I'm asking for the horse to move off, like I am this 2-year-old colt, I want the horse to understand that my movement means movement from the horse. In other words, movement begets movement. If I'm moving, I'm needing movement from my horse. In other words, we start establishing a rhythm from day one. If I'm moving at a faster pace, I need my horse to move at a faster pace. When I'm moving at a slower pace, I need my horse to realize that, okay, it's okay for me to slow down. And most importantly, when I stop my feet, it means the horse can stop his feet, which makes it easy for us from that point on to catch him, to approach him, and for him to stand still when he's asked to do that. If the horse, however, decides that he needs to move away, that's okay. Just like with our weanling colts, just like our yearling colts. If he moves away and that's not what we've asked him to do, we simply just put him back to work. In other words, we've made the right thing easy, which is just stand there and do what all horses love to do, which is nothing. And the wrong thing is let the heart and the lungs talk to the brain. And if we can let those things happen, that makes the training very, very easy on both us and the horse. It's less physical on us, less stressful on the horses, and as a result, we get a very responsive horse that's really watching and pay attention to our rhythm and to our mannerisms. And that's what we really like to say when we're developing these relationships between us and our animals. What we'll notice, though, is a certain amount of continuity. You know, you've seen a certain amount of things that we've done with this little weanling colt, and now working with a 2-year-old is just a continuity. The next level of progression is, you know, for lack of a better word, sacking our horses out. And sacking our horses out is nothing more than just getting our horses prepared. And what I like to do is I like to use my lead rope and getting the horses prepared for the cinch. I like to get them used to having their feet handled. I like to get them used to having live objects move around their feet. It's not that I'm trying to surprise the horses. It's just that I'm trying to get them prepared and relaxed around things that could be happening around them in places that I might not normally be able to touch. For example, I could toss the lead rope back behind their feet. I can rub it behind their feet. All the while my body's standing upright and maybe even up toward the horse's head. But if they feel something moving around their feet when with me as a handler is up around their face or up around their head, they won't be surprised by that. In other words, they'll begin to accept the fact that if I'm around, then whatever's going on must be okay. And that's what we're trying to establish with them. We're trying to establish that trust between the animal and its handler. I like to tell a story sometimes whenever I'm working with these horses in regard to this preparation thing. And I'm a big believer in luck when it comes to training horses. Didn't used to be. Matter of fact, a lot of people would tell me, oh, the only reason that horse didn't buck you off, or the reason that horse didn't kick, and the only reason that horse didn't get in a precarious situation in this particular situation or this particular case is you were just lucky. And quite frankly, that used to really aggravate me when people say that, oh, you were just lucky this horse didn't buck you off, or you were lucky that this horse didn't kick, or whatever. And like I said, it used to just aggravate the snot out of me until one day I expressed my feelings to a rancher fella that doesn't live too far from me. And he told me one time, he says, Van, I had the same problem. And, you know, it used to really make me mad because I had this really nice place and put a lot of hours into it and getting my place prepared and getting my place looking as nice as it did. And people would come up to me and they'd say, you know, it just really aggravates me, Marlon, to see that you're just so darn lucky. Everything you do, you're lucky at. And it bugged me. And then one day I mentioned that to a friend of mine, and that friend told me that, well, you have a misinterpretation of what they mean by luck. What luck really means is where preparation meets opportunity. Well, ever since this gentleman expressed that to me, I got to thinking about, you know, I've been looking at these things all wrong in the begin with. Is that when they're telling me I'm lucky, in the back of my mind I can laugh now and realize, yeah, you're right, because we've taken the opportunity, which in this case working with these 2-year-old colts and working with these horses in training, as opportunities. It's up to me to get these opportunities prepared. And if I put the two together, take the preparation and the opportunity, and I work hard and get my horse educated and get him working hard, then we create our own luck. So that's really, I think, if we can all kind of keep that in mind and getting our horses trained, and somebody comes up to us one day and says, man, you know, you're really lucky to have such a nice, quiet, easygoing animal. You're really lucky to have this kind of a horse and this kind of a disposition of a horse. Well, you can give yourself a pat on the back and say, yeah, you're right. I'm pretty lucky. Because maybe they don't realize that the luck that went into it was really just where you took your opportunities and you prepared them, or vice versa. You took your preparation very seriously, and when the opportunities came up, you're able to take advantage of that. So create your own luck when you're working with your horses. You'll be proud of it, and people will admire you for it. Now, getting back to preparation,
If the horse will get to the point where they're giving us their feet readily with this rope, and they've learned to give into pressure, in other words, feel the pressure, give into it, earn yourself some relief, as a result, the horse will get lighter and lighter and lighter in everything else that we ask, because now they understand the basic concept of training, which is pressure and relief. We'll apply the pressure. It's up to the horse to seek out the relief point. When he gets the relief, obviously, then he realizes he's done the right thing. So these ropes around the horse's feet, they're just examples of getting the horse prepared for things around their feet, getting them thinking in terms of concept of pressure and relief, and also getting them to understand that we're going to be consistent and persistent. In other words, we're going to put the rope around the horse's foot, and we're going to keep pulling until the horse gives us that foot, earning himself the relief. We're going to ask the same way every time. When we get what we want, we give the horse back the relief. It's all a concept of pressure and relief, and it's a developing relationship between our horses and ourselves. Now again, in our preparation, especially with the inch-by-inch approach, the reason I like that is it allows me to get the horse prepared really gradually in a way that allows me not to have to sneak around my horses. In other words, I don't have to sneak the blanket on him. I don't have to sneak the saddle on him, because I've got him prepared along the way, inch by inch, if you will, so that he accepts every little bitty progression that we make. So every progression that we make, he understands that there's nothing to fear. My actions aren't different. I'm not going to saddle this horse today for the first time any different than I would a horse that's been saddled 100 times before, because I've gotten him prepared the very first day for that first time that the saddle goes on his back. And as a result, the horse accepts it. He's used to these things flopping on him. When that rigging comes slinging over his back and lands on his offside over there, he's not surprised, because we've got him prepared. We use the inch-by-inch approach to getting him prepared so that when that rigging comes over, he's going to accept it. He's going to stand there and be pleasant about it. No surprises and no sneaking. You know, when I was growing up, we always had Sunday dinner at my grandparents' house. And all these Sunday dinners, you know, everybody had their own little specific places that we had to sit and that sort of thing. Well, my particular place that I was instructed to sit was kind of facing the wall, and over the years I kept noticing this little plaque. And for years I couldn't read. I was too young to read what this thing said, but I saw this sign there, and I'd always ask somebody in the house that was old enough to read this thing to me, say, "Hey, what does that thing say up there?" And they'd always say, "Well, Van, that says inch by inch, life's a cinch. Yard by yard, life is hard." Well, you know, at the time, you know, that didn't mean a whole lot to me. But years later, as I started training horses, I got to realizing just how much that applies to our everyday horse training, everyday preparation. That if we want to be successful with our horses, we've got to make things systematic and slow and step by step in order for these horses to understand it. So basically, I put this inch-by-inch approach into my horse training. If I want to get my horses prepared, then obviously I start off with this big old long cotton rope, and then we progress to another rope that may sound a little bit different, and we'll kind of flop it up there using the same action, if you will, as what we would do getting our horses prepared for the blanket, and then eventually the saddle. But it's all about inch by inch. Now when the time comes when we finally get the saddle up on the horse's back, the rigging comes down on the other side, on the opposite side. We go and make the adjustments in our rigging, and most importantly, when that cinch starts coming tight for the first time, we have to understand that that's going to feel a little bit different to the horse than like we did earlier with just the lead rope pulling tight down there. You know, he's going to feel that this cinch is bigger, it's broader, it's putting more pressure on his back in different areas. But we still have to do our very best to get the horse prepared up to that point. But when we finally go to pull that cinch tight, I like to do it nice and slow and gradual. In other words, the inch-by-inch approach, even in cinching the horse. I don't want to just rear back and just pull that thing up. What I want to do is I want to systematically just pull it up a little bit, rock the saddle back and forth, pull it a little bit tighter, a little bit tighter, and a little bit tighter, to the point where I know that the saddle is going to be nice and secure and that the horse is going to be okay with it. Now, I want to share another little story with you, because we're going to get into something here in just a minute where this horse is going to have to realize that he's on his own with this saddle. I can only prepare him for so much. And in doing so, I'd like to share a story with you. I grew up in a little bitty town called Campbell, Texas. Now, in old Campbell, Texas, we had one school for grades kindergarten, actually grades 1 through 12. And we didn't have a kindergarten. since my mom knew that we didn't have a kindergarten, she knew that it was going to be up to me, that if I was going to be successful in first grade, it was going to be up to her to get me prepared. So every night she'd read to me. We'd go over our 1, 2, 3s and our ABCs and all that kind of stuff. And as a result, when first grade finally come around, she was reasonably confident that she had me trained, she had me educated, so that first grade wouldn't be so traumatic for me. But no matter how much preparation she did, there came a time that she had to take me up there to that school for the very first day. Now, the best thing about doing that, though, is that no matter what went on in those classrooms on that very first day, no matter how well she prepared me, no matter what sort of stresses I went through or what I thought I was going to go through or whatever else, the most comforting feeling in the world to me was knowing that when all that was over with, that she was there for me. Though she couldn't go in the building with me and sit in class with me that very first day, it was comforting to know that when all that was over with, that very first day was done, that she was there for me. And that's exactly what we're going to try to do with these horses. But there comes a time to where that horse is going to have to deal with that saddle on his very own. Eventually he's going to take that first deep breath. He's going to take that first stride. And when he does, he's going to react. And when he does, that's the way he needs to deal with that saddle. He's going to have to deal with the saddle, whichever's going to make him feel most comfortable. In other words, that's him dealing with that saddle in that classroom that very first day. Now my role is to be there for him. When it's all said and done, he's got through throwing his little fit, and he's understood that this saddle's not going to eat him alive. It's nothing up there that's going to hurt him. That when this horse understands that he needs a little security, that's where I need to be. I need to be there for him so that he understands that all this is just another stage, just another inch in his inch-by-inch approach to progressing toward being successful. As we get ready to mount our horses, oftentimes I think it's very important that we put a little pressure in the stirrups first, or maybe pull a little bit on the saddle horn and kind of get the horses used to what's about to happen. In other words, we're just taking another systematic approach to it, just another inch by inch, if you will. And oftentimes that pull on the saddle or that pressure on the horse's back because of the saddle tree may cause a horse to want to take a step. And if that's the case, that's all right. What we want to do, though, is just tell the horse that basically what we want him to do is keep his feet nice and still for us. And what I like to do is just rock the saddle back and forth, push the saddle horn away from me, pull it toward me, do whatever I need to do to kind of knock the horse off balance to the point to where if he doesn't want to be knocked off balance anymore, he'll have to widen his base, spread his feet, if you will. And once he does that, then we've got the horse ready to be mounted. In other words, all 4 feet are square on the ground. He's ready now, and he's positioned now that we can put pressure in the stirrups and put pressure in the saddle without pulling him off balance. And once the horse is standing there for us, that's telling us now he's ready to be mounted. When the time comes, though, for us to go ahead and get up into the saddle and get mounted up onto the horse, we want to try to keep in mind that that pressure on the saddle is putting pressure on the horse's back. And what we need to do is get up in the saddle as quickly, as easily as possible, get our weight up over the middle of the horse's back so that it takes that pressure away. We need to do so with caution, but at the same time we need to do so with a concern that this is putting pressure on our horse's back. Now, once I finally get myself up into the saddle, into the seat of the saddle, what I like to do is think in terms of pressure and relief. All the while, even from the time we worked with our weanling colts all the way up to our 2-year-old colts, we've been teaching them a system of pressure and relief. We apply the pressure. If they want relief, they have to seek out what it is that we want. Once they find that, then we give them the relief. First thing you do when you get on is you get right back off. And hopefully it'll be on your terms instead of the horse's. Once the horse accepts us up there, then we can begin to stay in the saddle a little bit longer and a little bit longer until we feel comfortable in asking our horse to move away for the first time. Whenever we're getting ready to ride the horse and actually step on him and take those first few steps, this is the time I really like to emphasize to people to use your best judgment. Really be very cautious and watch the horses very closely. You know, the signs that horses tell us that they're feeling anxious about certain things are their head rising. In other words, their head coming, significantly above the level of their withers. Watch the ear expression. Watch the eye expression. And no one knows your horse better than you do. You're the one that spent the time with your horses. You're the one that should know your horse's body language. If at any moment that you get ready to mount your horse for the first time and you notice these signs of anxiety, just take your time, do a little bit more preparation work, and certainly don't put yourself in danger. We can get ourselves hurt oftentimes with our horses by taking certain things for granted. So just, take some time to take some caution for yourself and make sure that your horse is well prepared. And when getting mounted, I really like to emphasize to people to use your best judgment. Really be very cautious and watch the horses very closely. Once we've made our way to the saddle, we're comfortable, the horse is comfortable, then obviously the most important thing from that moment on is just like our groundwork, and that's forward movement. We have to have forward movement to make this a rideable animal. And how I basically get my horses to take the very first step is very similar to what we did on the ground. I'll take my lead rope, I'll pull it to the side, get my horse to give to me just his nose just a little bit. I don't want to get in a tug-of-war with him. I just want the horse to learn to give into pressure a little bit. He'll move his feet, and when he does, I want to encourage him. When the horse moves, I just want to move with him. Just as what we stated all along, is that the horse will begin to move, and we'll create a rhythm with the horse, and that rhythm will eventually mean something to that animal. He'll feel comfortable with us taking that first step with him, and as he feels comfortable, we can gain that rhythm, and he can absorb that rhythm with us. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that unity between the two of us. And the reason that unity is so important is that rhythm in the saddle establishes so many things that's going to come in the future. If our horse is at a walk, we've got that nice little smooth walk rhythm going with our horse. When we ask our horse to trot, we create that 2-beat rhythm that encourages our horses to move. In other words, we become his motivator to move. When we ask our horses to lope, we create that 3-beat rhythm. Again, we're the motivating factor behind our horses moving. And why our rhythm is so important is so when it comes time for us to stop our horses. When we ask our horses to stop, we simply just stop the rhythm in the saddle. And we invite our horses to stop, if you will. That keeps our horses nice and light, and most importantly, keeps them relaxed and without anxiety. A horse without anxiety is a willing student ready to learn.
So what I'm going to do is in my 3 steps to stopping, I'm going to quit riding. Feet forward. I'm going to sit deep in the saddle. And my horse stops. That's about as good as I can expect a horse to do on his very first day. What I've asked for today is forward movement. What I've asked for today, to kind of recap what we really did today from start to finish, I set a goal today. My goal today was to get the saddle and my tail end in the saddle for the very first time on this young 2-year-old colt. How are we going to do that? We're going to implement a plan. Then we're going to try to keep a good positive attitude about the plan. If the horse made a mistake, so what? It was a grand opportunity for us to take advantage of that mistake and prepare him a little bit better so that maybe he wouldn't have the same mistake again. So to recap what we did, we set the goal, implemented a plan, we kept a good positive attitude, and we accomplished that plan. We accomplished that goal. And I guess you could say that this horse today has really led us down the trail to success. And that's what we're looking for each and every day. I appreciate the horse for letting us do this. Tomahawk was really good today, and we've got some other things we're going to try to do with him. This is just the very first day of many for him, and this is a pretty good first day, I think. What we're going to do now is we're going to introduce an obstacle to this horse. We're going to basically train him how to overcome an obstacle. Now, the theory behind overcoming this particular obstacle is nothing more than just a blue tarp laid on the ground. This tarp could represent anything that we're going to encounter, either on a trail, at a show, or anything that this horse may not be exposed to in the past. What I want you to think about, though, is the fact that we're going to really be accomplishing more than just overcoming this particular obstacle. This is a great opportunity for this horse to start developing trust, not only in his environment and a new obstacle, but more importantly in us. And how this horse responds to this and how we respond to his fear of this particular obstacle will determine how that relationship will turn out. What we're really going to try to do is try to gain confidence with this horse in us. Use this opportunity for this horse to really trust us and gain confidence in what we're going to be asking him to do. So with no more about that, what we're going to try to do is just let this horse just kind of ease around the pen, let him handle this obstacle the best way he can. We're just going to kind of just help him, encourage him to go over it. If he doesn't, that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to present the obstacle to him. We're going to use a technique I call reduce to the ridiculous. As he approaches his tarp, he's probably not going to go over it for the first time, and if he doesn't, that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to just take the obstacle, we're going to reduce it, we're going to fold it in half. We're going to try to get the horse to overcome it again. If he still can't overcome it, that's okay. We're going to take it and reduce it in half again. We'll just fold it in half. We'll keep doing that same thing until eventually the horse will get to the point where he's comfortable with the obstacle, he's comfortable with the object, and he's comfortable with us asking him to go over it. And then once the horse overcomes that and he gets the habit of going over it, and whenever we ask him to, he accomplishes that, he gains confidence in that, he gains confidence in his environment, he gains confidence in us, then we'll take that same obstacle and begin to unfold it until again it's to the point that it is right now, when it's back to the full size again. So let's just see if we can get old Tomahawk here to go over it. If we can get Tomahawk to accept it and go over it and gain confidence in the tarp, gain confidence in this environment, and more importantly, gain confidence in us, and we realize we've done exactly what we wanted to do. Let's see if we can get him to move out. If he wants to go around it, that's okay. We just keep him moving. Again, if he wants to go around it, that's okay. We just keep him moving. Now, if this horse wanted to go really close to it, or if he wanted to go way furthest, all the way across the pen, ever how he wants to get by this obstacle at this point in time, that's okay. It's him that's having to deal with it, not us. We just want to keep him moving. Good man. Eventually, he'll get more and more confident in going by that obstacle. I'm just going to take this object here and fold it in half. Okay, what we've done now, we've taken the obstacle and we've just folded it in half. In other words, we've taken the same situation and we've reduced it by half so that the horse maybe won't be quite as intimidated by it this time as he was earlier. Good man. But another problem. Now right here I'm going to stop because he really took a notion to study it. And as long as he's studying it and trying to observe it, I'm going to let him do that in his own way. If he decides he wants to move away from it or take his head up and take his attention away from it, I'm going to move him on. Good man. Good man. Just want to let him just study it the best way he can. Let him get close to it, take a look at it. That pawing is nothing more than just an example of his being anxious. He's wanting to go closer, but at the same time he's a little bit scared, a little bit anxious about it, so we're just going to let him study it. As long as his head is down, he's taking a look at it, he's relaxed, we're winning. So I just want to let him do that the best way he can. Good deal. Good deal. Act like you wanted to move away, and that's okay. We'll let him move away. We'll give him the same option again here in just a second. There, he never showed any sign really that he wanted to take a look at it, so that's okay. We'll just keep him going. Let him gain confidence in the obstacle. Let him gain confidence in us. Good man. We'll just keep doing this to the point where the horse feels more and more comfortable about going over it. Once he gets over the tarp and he accepts it, good man. We'll start unfolding it and making it larger again. He's just picking it one corner at a time at this point, and that's great. Later on, he'll decide that all the effort of going around it's not worth it. Good boy. Good man. Now he's picking over more and more of it each time, each stride. Good man. See, now he's beginning to feel comfortable about it and more confident. And all the while, because my behavior has been consistent, he's gaining confidence in me as well. There's no point at this time. Good man. There's no point at this time in reducing it anymore because he's accepting it the way it is. Good man. Good boy. It's a good chance here. We just want to take a look at it and study it. And I can just ask him just ever so slightly to accept it more. Good boy. And that's all right. It's not a big problem there. Good man. There's a good stride over it there. We'll just let him keep working at it. He's doing a great job for us. Good man. That's accepting it the way we need a horse to accept it, right there. Good man. Right there, he put a stride on it. That's what we need. Good boy. Now we can start unfolding it. Now what we've done is we put it back one size bigger. Now that it's one size bigger, we just have to sit there and get his confidence built back up in it again. Hopefully it's not going to intimidate him. Good man. He picked the corner at least. Bingo, just like that. That's what we're looking for. And just like a little while ago when it was reduced by half, and he'll accidentally take a foot on it, just like he did there. When he hears it move underneath him and it doesn't hurt him, he's gaining confidence in it. That's what we're looking for right there. That's super. So colt's doing great. That's what we're looking for right there. Good job. We'll just let him rest. We'll take this tarp and unfold it one more time. Getting close, but we want to go over the whole thing. Good man. That's what we're looking for right there. Nice and easy over it. You can tell he went over it kind of timid, but at least he went over it. That's super right there. That's gaining confidence in our obstacle. Good deal. That's absolutely super right there. What we've gotten today, in this particular situation, we presented an obstacle on purpose to our horse. This obstacle can, again, simulate a bridge. It can simulate loading into a trailer. It can simulate so many obstacles that we may encounter along the way, whether it be in a show pen, in a trail obstacle course, or in a situation on a casual riding trail. But whatever it is, what we need to do is we need to systematically offer this obstacle to our horses in a way that they can understand it. Now, obviously, out on a trail, we can't have our obstacles and fold them in half. That's why I think it's important to prepare our horses in a situation like this, a nice, controlled environment. What I did with this tarp is I presented it to him in its full fashion. The horse went to it. He didn't accept it. That's okay. Let's fix it so he can accept it. So we took the obstacle, we reduced it to half, folded the tarp in half, asked the horse to go again. Unfortunately, he still didn't accept it. And that's okay. He's just letting us know, hey, I'm not really quite ready to accept it yet. Can you do something else for me? You betcha, buddy. What we'll do is we'll fold it in half again. That time, the obstacle wasn't quite as intimidating to the horse, so guess what happened? He crossed it. We asked him to keep crossing it until he gained confidence, not only in the tarp, in the surroundings, but also in us. He understood that we weren't going to push him to the point where he was going to be nervous and anxious. He handled it in a way that was nice and quiet, and that's what we're looking for. Once he handled that tarp, folded it that way, we took it and we folded it up, or unfolded it until it got much bigger. He accepted it that way, and we unfolded it again until now it's at its present state, a nice full obstacle that we approached him with the very first chance, or the very first time. Now that the horse has accepted it, we know now that the horse accepts the tarp. He will probably accept other obstacles out there along the way in due time. But most importantly, he's gained confidence in obstacles, he's gained confidence in his environment, and most importantly of anything, he's gained confidence in us. Now we're going to show you what I call the 3 steps to stopping. If you'll remember, when we were working with a colt that had never been ridden, I told you about the rhythm. We create the rhythm from the ground, and what I'm doing is that I will actually create the rhythm at a faster pace. I'm expecting my horse to move off at a faster pace. I said earlier that what I like to try to do is take that same rhythm and transition that to the saddle. What I've got now is a 3-year-old colt that's been ridden a little bit more, and what I like to try to do today is show you how I'm going to create that same rhythm from the ground into the saddle. When I want my horse to lope, I'm obviously going to kick off into a rhythm of a 3-beat rhythm. Once my horse has got himself into the lope, I'm going to try to maintain that rhythm. When I want my horse to stop, I'm going to take the 3 steps to stopping approach to get him to do that. The 3 steps to stopping are, first, I want to stop my rhythm. So in the saddle, I'm going to quit riding, so to speak. I'm going to go from the riding posture to the stopping posture. I'm going to go from riding, which is I'm chasing the horse into the lope, from that position into the position of a stop, which is like sitting up here like a sack of potatoes. My feet are going to go slightly forward, and I'm basically going to stop riding. The second step is I'm going to remind my horse with a simple word, whoa. And whoa means one thing. It means stop. It doesn't mean whoa in a little while, stop later on. It means stop and whoa right now. The third thing I'm going to do is as I say the word whoa, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to pull back ever so slightly with my hands. What I'm looking for my horse to do is actually help me eliminate that third step. what I like for the horse to do is almost stop the very minute that my posture changes from the riding position into the stopping position. So watch with me now as I start this horse off into a canter. I'm going to create a rhythm with him in a canter. And then when I'm ready for him to stop, I'm simply just going to stop my rhythm. Now the canter, again, is a 3-beat rhythm. So I create the rhythm with my horse. Just ride with my horse. I'm slightly forward in the saddle, keeping my feet pleasantly below me. Squeezing with my thighs to keep my horse motivated, and motivating him with my body as well. When I'm ready to stop, I'll simply just stop my riding. In other words, take myself from the riding position to the neutral position. That'll be my first step. First step is sit. Second step is whoa. Third step is supporting with my hands. So again, the 3 steps to stopping are quite simple. Number 1, we got to create a rhythm in the saddle, whether it be a walk, a trot, or a lope. I chose to demonstrate that today to you in a canter. So we've got a 3-beat rhythm going with our horse. To stop our horse, we did simply 3 things. Number 1, we quit riding. Went from the riding position to the neutral position. We said the word whoa, and we supported the horse with our hands. Probably the last and most important thing we need to do is after the horse has done exactly what we want him to do, to stop and let him rest. That way he'll appreciate the stop and he'll keep stopping nicely for you each and every time. So that's the 3 steps to stopping.
All right. Now we're going to work with a systematic approach to trailer loading. We've seen earlier today we worked with the same horse in overcoming an obstacle. We took the horse over the obstacle by reducing that obstacle to the ridiculous. We took it and we folded it in half again, folded it in half again until the horse felt comfortable with it. What we're going to try to do is take that same philosophy into another obstacle, which is a trailer loading presentation. We want to try to present the trailer to the horse in a way that he can really understand that. And we're going to break that down the best we can. First of all, I've got to get the horse to understand that what I want him to do is go forward for me. So I need to get him to understand first a cue that will indicate to the horse that we need him to take a few steps forward. So I'll get the horse up here in a situation. Now, this is not a buggy whip. I like to use this. It's more or less just an extension of my arm. It can reach a little bit further back on his hind quarter than I can reach with my bare hand. So what I want to do is just tap the horse here on his hind quarter, and the moment he takes a step forward, just quit tapping until the horse understands then that what I'm asking for him to do is just take a step forward for me. He's understanding now, even before I can get a chance to tap him, that what I'm needing him to do is just to go forward. If he understands that, and he's picking up on it pretty readily and almost every time we do it, then we can introduce something else. What I'm going to introduce to him now is just an obstacle for him to step over, if you will, kind of simulating that what I need him to do is pick a foot up and step over an object. Let me grab a piece of this landscape timber. And if you will, this might simulate being very similar to the entranceway of the trailer. I'm going to let him smell it. There he goes. Then we'll try to get him to approach it and learn that he can step over it. Good man. Good man. I'd like to present it to him again. Good deal. Each time the horse steps over the obstacle, he's gaining confidence in the cues. He's staying nice and relaxed. He's gaining confidence in stepping over the obstacle there, which we can hope then that he will have confidence in gaining entranceway into the trailer just by stepping up and moving his feet when we ask him to step his foot up. Now, obviously, the trailer is going to simulate something else as well. It's going to simulate something that's going to go totally against the horse's natural instincts. Those natural instincts are to avoid areas that are enclosed. An area that's fully enclosed, obviously, takes away his instinct to flee, so he wants to try to avoid that area the best he can. So what we need to try to do is not only gain his confidence in the cues that we're doing and in the presentation of the trailer, but also that we're not going to trap him in that obstacle. We're not going to trap him into that little box canyon, if you will. So let's see if we can present the trailer to him in a way that's unoffensive. Let the horse see that there's nothing in there for him to be worried about. Now, as you can tell, the trailer now, we've got a divider there, so I want to be sure and take that divider away. And the reason I want the dividers open is so that the horse can see that there's an open, wide area in there for him to go into. He's not walking into a fully enclosed area. He's walking into an area that's a little bit more open for him. Obviously, the smaller the area, the more problem a horse has with wanting to load. So if we can present the area to him that it's a bigger, much bigger area in there, a lot of room for his body, then the less afraid and less anxious the horse will be to step on in. Let's see if we can introduce him to it. In introducing the horse to the trailer, what we're looking for is for him to just kind of take a look around and kind of explore a little bit on his own before we really ask much of him. Wherever the horse stops, it doesn't matter if he stops here, if he stops 30 feet further down the road, or wherever he stops, that's going to be our starting point. And if he loses a little bit of attention in the trailer, we're just going to ask him to take a step forward and come a little bit closer into it. Good man. If he shows a little bit of anxiety, that's not a problem. What we're going to do is just look for little bitty steps like that. Just one step forward, and we'll quit. Let him lick and chew, whatever he needs to do to feel like he's going to gain confidence and getting closer and closer and closer to the trailer. Good man. He takes a step forward for me. I want to give him plenty of time to understand that what he's done is the right thing. He's just taken a step forward. And as he's taken a step forward, he's got the relief of no longer being tapped on. Good boy. Good boy. All the while, we're just taking little bitty steps on getting him closer and closer and closer to the trailer until hopefully eventually he'll just take a foot up and smell it and put a foot on it, want to paw at it maybe, whatever it takes for him to get used to it. Good man. Good man. If we get one foot, maybe sometimes we'll get the second one. Good boy. I like to watch a horse's feet. I like to watch a horse's ears and their eyes. If I see the ears and eyes go forward, then I like to quit tapping. If I see their feet go forward, that's a good try, so I quit tapping. The most important thing here is not to whip the horse into the trailer. We're just kind of encouraging him, just to that kind of aggravation. We just want to keep tapping and keep tapping, letting him know that the cue is there. The cue is going to stay consistent, and it's going to stay very persistent until the fact that the horse does something that we're asking. And in this case, all I'm asking is that he just take a step forward. Good man. Good man. Now there all I got was the hind feet moving forward, but if the hind quarter engages, then oftentimes the front end will engage. Good boy. Good boy. Good man. Good man. If you can reward the thought when the horse is actually thinking about going forward, like just a slight indication of some body movement, ears going forward, eyes going forward, then that adds to the horse's reinforcement that what he's thinking about is the right thing. If his weight shifts backwards, then obviously his mind is thinking about coming backwards. So we can kind of redirect the thought by being pretty quick with our reward and very attentive to what it is the horse is actually doing. He's really thinking about picking up his feet again. There we go. Now, in order to get our horses to back up out of a trailer, obviously they may have a certain amount of confidence in backing up on a flat ground. But in a trailer, they're very, very insecure about it because they don't know where their feet are going. They really can't see outside this object very well. So the most important thing is here, just give your horse lots and lots of time. Just keep applying the cue for him to back up, a little pressure on the nose. When you see if they pick a foot up and move it backwards for you, just take some pressure off their nose and let them stand there for a moment. Let them kind of regroup, pet them, let them stand comfortably, and then back up and ask for another step. Each time the horse gives you just a little bit, just take a little bit of pressure off his nose again. Let him feel confidence in putting his feet back on the mat, back on the floor. And then just be ready, because sooner or later he'll get really close to the back of the trailer. And that very first step, finding the ground, is oftentimes a very hard and very anxious step for them. They don't know where the ground is, and they're stepping down. They're having a hard time finding the ground. And until they feel it and gain confidence that it is there, they'll oftentimes have a tendency to want to step right back up into the trailer. They feel more secure up in here now than they do trying to find the ground. So just give them plenty of time. And oftentimes, depending on the horse, depending on the anxiety, we can make it a lot easier on the horses sometimes by trying to park our trailers in a lower spot so that the step up into the trailer is much easier, and most importantly, the step out of the trailer is very, very easy. Just try to keep an eye on the horse. Make sure that you talk to him. I like to use the word easy as I'm getting the horse to either step out of the trailer or onto the ground. So as he gets closer and closer and closer, I'm going to start letting him know that the ground is there and he's got a step coming down. Easy, easy. Just by talking to him and letting him know that the trailer floor is there and that it's about to take a big step downward. Easy, easy. Good man, good man. Just let him stand there for a moment. Good, good, good job. Absolutely super. So that's basically what we're looking at in trying to get a horse to load in the trailer for the first time. This horse actually had been loaded into an open trailer, but had never been in a fully enclosed trailer. So obviously he had to gain a lot of confidence in the fact that he couldn't see out of it. He was walking into an enclosed area. And most importantly, I think the lesson best learned for him today was finding the ground on his way out. So if we just take our time, introduce it to them in a nice, easy way, first introduce the cues, maybe introduce the step of stepping over an object. If we need to, get into a situation to where we can lower the trailer down into a lower spot so the horse doesn't have quite such a large step to step up into. But that's our steps into trailer loading and trailer unloading in a safe way on a horse that's not been loaded before.
And wrapping up, let's review some of the things we've gone over today. We started out obviously with the little weanling colt, and we showed basically what some of the things we're looking for in the behavior and some of the training processes in getting this little weanling colt started. What we hope you see, though, is a little continuity in what the little weanling colt did all the way through to what we did with the 2-year-old. Got ourselves into the saddle on the 2-year-old, and most importantly, as these training things took place, we noticed that the horses stayed quiet and calm. And a horse, again, without anxiety, is a student ready to learn. So if we can keep this training philosophy quiet, take a systematic, step-by-step, inch-by-inch approach, if you will, to the training, then we'll end up with horses that are quieter, easier to work with, and hopefully with the attitude of continued learning.